Hi, welcome. I'm going to talk about the Soul Society arc of Bleach. I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, it's because you already are at least aware somewhat of Bleach. But just in case you're not, Bleach is a manga series by Tite Kubo, I think is how you pronounce his name. I tried to look up a pronunciation online and I could not get a clear answer ever. So apologies if I pronounce that wrong. But anyways, this is a long-running manga series, and the Soul Society arc is the name of the second story arc in the manga. And I just completed it like just a couple of days ago, and yeah, I have to talk about it. So that's what I'm going to do today. So yes, just in case you have never heard of Bleach, but you clicked on this video anyways, Bleach, the manga series, is about 15-year-old Ichigo Kurosaki who can see spirits. One day he meets Rukia Kuchiki, who is a soul reaper, which means that she fights malevolent spirits called hollows. Rukia gets injured, and because of that, Ichigo has to kind of take over for her. So she lends him her powers, but she accidentally lends him too much. And now she can't perform her duties. And so Ichigo has to become a de facto soul reaper. He now has to fight hollows. So I made a video previously talking about the first arc in this manga, the Agent of the Shinigami, or the Substitute Shinigami, or the Substitute. I don't know. I've seen it called different things online. But anyways, this, like I said, is going to be the second arc. So I made a video on that one. And now I just need to talk about this arc. So this video, just by the nature of it being not the beginning of the series, is going to be pretty spoiler filled. So how I'm gonna kind of structure this video is I'm gonna do a really short little spoiler free section at the beginning. And then after that, I will get into full spoilers. And to be honest, on a different day, if I made this video, I probably would just do a full thought dump because I've got a lot to say and a lot I want to talk about. But obviously that's kind of hard to follow, right? So I tried to break up my thoughts into different sections. So I'm just going to have an overall kind of plot section and what I want to talk about as far as like little plot points and how the story overall went and like different moments. And then I'll have a section specifically about characters and what I want to mention about some of the different characters in this arc. And then after that is just going to be kind of everything else that didn't fit neatly into those two other categories. So yeah, the Soul Society arc. It takes place in the Soul Society, hence the name. So I was seeing a lot of hype for this arc. A lot of people really, really like it. And to be honest with you, even through all the hype, it didn't kill how good this arc was. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so good. I'm really happy with it. I just, like, after I finished the final chapter of the arc, I was like, no, I don't want it to be over. Like, I'm excited for what's to come still, but like, it was really good. So yeah. So Bleach so far has been good. I liked the first arc even, and now it's totally blown me out of the water. It's so good. I am so excited to continue on. So first of all, I liked the exploration of the actual Soul Society we've been hearing so much about up to this point. Rukia keeps mentioning it, and now it's paying off. I also love in this arc that we have been introduced to so many new characters. Just a ton of new characters, but I've loved every single one of them. I just love them. They've been such great additions to the story, no matter who it was, and no matter for good or bad, like whether they were hero or villain, what side they were on, or even if they were neutral, just great. It's like been so great as far as like new personalities for me to love, new villains for me to hate, and just expanding the world and making it feel more rich and real. It's all been perfect. As I mentioned before, I will get into the characters later. I will speak more specifically about some of them, so that's coming. I also want to say the art to me is still top notch. I really, really love the art style of this manga. It's so clean. It's so consistent. Very easy to follow. It's really good. Also, the themes of teamwork and friendship and just how that's so prevalent in this story. It was in the first arc. It still is in this arc. I freaking love it. Inject that straight into my veins because that will sustain me forever. I absolutely love that. That's a very shonen thing, and I can't get enough of it. So yes, my recommendation is absolutely to read The Soul Society arc of this manga, which was through volume 21. It like ends in the middle of volume 21. I don't remember where it starts. I want to say volume 9, 8, 9, 10. But yeah, it's around 10 volumes ish of the manga. Anyways, let's get into the rest of the discussion, the full spoilers. Okay, first of all, the plot section. So like I said before in my spoiler-free section, what I really liked was the exploration of the Soul Society, which I'm going to be honest with you, I did not realize was actually like a physical place. I thought it was, for some reason, some like weird spiritual place. I think it's because the whole subject matter is about spirit. So I was like, oh, it's just kind of this hypothetical place that exists. I don't know, up in the clouds. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. But anyways, I'm still surprised nonetheless to see that the Soul Society is actually like essentially another dimension. I think the lead into this arc was really good. It was exciting and it caught my attention. Byakuya and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, by the way. Side note, I don't know if I'm pronouncing a lot of these names correctly because I don't watch the anime. I just read the manga. I miss out on that aspect of this. So feel free to correct me if I'm pronouncing anything wrong. I tried to look it up and find clips of the anime, but I'm still not super confident. So anyways, just disclaimer. So yes, Byakuya and Renji appear and take Rukia back to like arrest her basically for giving her powers to a human. And by this point, we care about Rukia. Well, I cared about Rukia and I liked her and I didn't want to see her, you know, hurt. I didn't want bad things to happen to her. So I was like, no, don't take her. So it was good stakes. And plus the two that came to get her, the two Soul Reapers, seemed very strong. They basically beat Ichigo very easily and Uryu. So good stakes, good difficulty level. I was into it. I was ready to go. And then the whole training sequence where Urahara was training Ichigo was good too. Very intriguing. I also love that it was featuring Urahara, which is 100% the most intriguing character to me still at this point, even after finishing this arc. I need a whole side plot just about him. I don't know. He's very interesting. And then I like the whole squad that was going to the Soul Society. I like that it wasn't just Ichigo. We had Chad, we had Orihime and Uryu. And Yoruichi. So it was a good squad overall, especially Uryu on the squad. I obviously didn't start out liking him. I mean, he's kind of supposed to be a little wad of snot at the beginning. Like he's not good. He's not fun. But through this arc, I really liked him. I think he's become a really good friend and he's very valuable to the party, the protagonist party, but he was definitely the most unexpected. And I love that he was there. And then I was sad that they basically split up right as they got into the Soul Society. I was like, God damn it, you guys, come on. This is going to be a great dynamic. But it's probably good that way because now we get to see all different parts of the Soul Society. So it ultimately was for the best. I also really liked that throughout the arc, we got a ton of backstories. Sometimes I think backstory can kind of kill pacing and just kill any enjoyment and engagement because it stops the story cold. But the nice thing about this arc and how it was incorporated here was that, first of all, we had already had a lot of the character work done earlier on in the series. So we didn't need to spend time developing characters and just have it stop because of backstory. And also, the backstory that did happen did not take up a lot of time. I think none ever topped like 5 pages. So it was never really very intrusive. It was just balanced really well with the current narrative storyline. So I just really liked how the backstory and flashbacks were handled here. And it made me really thankful for them instead of really exhausted by them. So some notable backstory little moments that I really liked were, first of all, Ichigo and Chad's friendship, kind of how they made an agreement to fight for each other, essentially. It was just really nice. Rukia and the Shiba clan, how she had to kill the one Shiba clan guy. I forget his name, but you know, this guy, because he turned into a hollow. It makes you wonder, when they first brought it up in the story, I was like, why did she kill someone? And then you learn like it was basically inevitable. She had to, because he turned into a hollow. Very sad, very effective, very good. And also I liked some of the captain backstories we got, kind of like just about their past and maybe how they joined the Soul Society, like Tosin. It was just a really short, like a couple pages, but it was still effective and it made me sort of understand him a little bit more. So just so good. Let me just take a little bit and talk about the fights. I love the fight drawing. I was gonna say the fight animation, but I'm reading the manga, not watching the anime. So not the animation, but the drawing. I love the fight drawing. It's very clear. I can always like just tell what's going on. So I love that about Bleach. First of all, Uryu versus that like mad scientist captain. Oh my freaking god. He was a freak, dude. He sucked. I hated him. He frightened me a lot. That guy freaking sucked. I'm so glad Uryu won. Even though I love that we got a consequence, he lost his powers. I'm sure at some point he must get them back, right? I would assume so, but it's still sad and it's still like a good consequence of that fight. Good stakes. But I do not want to see that Captain guy come back, even though I'm sure he does, because I don't think he actually died. He was just defeated. Okay, next, Kenpachi versus Ichigo. I didn't know how I would feel about this captain guy. He's really intimidating looking. Like, he's kind of scary looking, but he's fun at the same time. Like, he's the fun kind of intimidating. He's fun and he's cool. And I love that he ends up helping the protagonist. So, like, yeah, that endears me to him straight away. But the fight between him and Ichigo was very intense, but it was good. It was really well drawn. And I also really liked the little interlude in the battle with Ichigo and his swords on Getsu. But yeah, that was a really entertaining fight. Ichigo versus Renji, also very good, very dramatic. I would say the same of Ichigo versus Byakuya. And then all the infighting with the court guard captains, so entertaining. There's just so much tension. I loved it. First of all, Kenpachi Zaraki versus Tosen and that wolf guy. I forget what his name is, but I think he's a wolf or a fox. It looked like a wolf though. Very dramatic. Again, just so dramatic. Everything was so dramatic. I loved it. Yoruichi versus Soifan. Again, so freaking dramatic. And I love their backstory and the dynamic between those two ladies and their relationship. Like, that was a really good one. I really liked that one. And then Ukitake and Shunsui, those two versus the Captain Commander. That one was really good too. Even though we didn't really see the fighting, but I just liked the dynamic that was set up between the three of them. By the way, I'll get into this probably a little bit in the character section, but I loved Shunsui. That guy was so fun. He was so cool. I loved his style. Like, just look at him, man. He's so cool. Also, Ukitake, I liked him too. I loved that he showed a lot of compassion for Rukia as her captain, as her superior. It's very different from the relationship we see between Byakuya and Renji, for example, who, like, after Renji loses his fight to Ichigo, Byakuya is just like, throw him in jail. He lost and he shouldn't have gone out and done it anyways. He had no chill. The dichotomy of how the different captains operate. All interesting in the Soul Society. I guess that's all the fights specifically that I want to talk about. I also just want to say I love how Chad just tore through that place. Like, he basically met no opposition when he was going through the Soul Society trying to find his friends until he met Shunsui, of course. Obviously, that's going to be a power difference there, but it's just funny. Okay, next I want to talk about the whole mystery subplot that was going on. I didn't really expect that this was going to be an element in this arc. I really love that they introduced that, though. I always think, in my opinion, a mystery is a great plot device. I think that always just ups the stakes. It ups reader engagement. It's almost always a really good choice, in my opinion. And I loved it here. I just loved the other layer of drama that it added to the whole arc. And I will say, I did not see Aizen coming back. I thought he was dead as a doornail. That blew my mind. Plus, I think he played that like nice, compassionate, caring captain really, really well. So the fact that he was just like the ultimate villain, evil to the core, I didn't see it coming at all. But that whole mystery just created so much tension and just a whole other level of stakes beyond Rukia's impending death, which is already very intense. Like, that was already good enough drama, and then we just add this onto it. That's why this arc was really good to me. And then towards the end of this arc, discovering the massacre of the Central 46 is what they're called, I think. Plot twist, didn't see that coming. And I also didn't know that Aizen was going to get away at the end. I totally was waiting for them to defeat him and just have that all be over. So I didn't know that he was going to kind of be set up as a bigger villain that's obviously going to come back later. I think it's probably good though, since this wasn't the very end of the series. It's good that it didn't just cut off here and then they all go about their merry way. We're upping the stakes. It's getting more dramatic. It's getting more intense. You know, I liked the choice to make Aizen a bigger villain because there's way more I want to explore with him, you know, his motivations, some of his backstory. Like, I'm excited. And he's obviously like super strong. I mean, he blocked so many weapons, so many Zanpakutos with his finger. Like, he's obviously super strong and overpowered. So I didn't even know how they were going to defeat him. So yeah, I think it was a good choice to not have him be defeated here. Okay, next I just want to talk about very briefly the whole execution scene, Rukia's execution scene. Oh my gosh, such beautiful artwork. There was the whole panel with just that personification, if you would call it that, of the you know, the weapon that was gonna kill her, like turning into that big, huge firebird. Oh my gosh, that was so striking. I just like stared at that panel forever because I was like, oh my God, this is intense. But so cool at the same time. Just the whole scene, not even just that panel, but the whole scene was very beautifully drawn. It was really good. Also, obviously, I already talked about the climax a little bit, like the ending kind of fights and Aizen and everything, but I also just love that Jidanbo, the giant, came back. It was a very good callback to earlier on in the arc, like almost the very beginning of the arc. We love to see it. Also, the hand reaching out of the sky, it's like up on top and it's like reaching down through the crack in the sky, and it is revealed to be the Menos Grande. That was very intense. A little bit creepy. And also, because that thing was already set up as like a big deal and you know, something that has kind of plagued the Soul Society and Soul Reapers. And so the fact that it's here now and it's working with Aizen, or Aizen is with it or whatever. Yeah, dude, the stakes are up. I'm into it. And then also, just to add on, the whole holification thing that Aizen kind of reveals, like the whole experimentation, that's freaky, man. Freaky. So I'm excited to see where the story goes with that whole aspect. Lots of stuff going on here. Lots of stuff going on. I'm very excited. Okay, let's shift and talk about some of the characters specifically now. First of all, like I said before, I liked Uryu here more than I did previously. I think this arc really showed a different side of him. So now I just like him so much more than I did in the beginning when he was first introduced. I liked the introductions of Kukaku, I think is her name. That one girl with the only one arm. She was freaking cool, man. I loved her. She's awesome. And Ganju too. He's fun. I liked his rivalry with Ichigo and how they just bickered all the time. Ikaku and Yumichika were also very fun. I liked them. And Hanataro, the healer from the fourth company, he was very cute. I really liked him. He's very sweet. Very helpful too. He did a lot. Yoruichi is awesome too. I freaking loved her. She's a person. Did not see that coming. I absolutely did not see that coming. Also, I just want to say that Gin is freaky, man. He's freaky in a different way from that mad scientist captain, but his face, dude, the freaking smile he has all the time creeped me the hell out. I do not like this guy. I don't like him. So I'm excited to see where the story goes with him. Obviously, he's one of the bad guys. Like, duh. No surprises there. But yeah, he was a good villain. I liked being creeped out by him. Like, it was fun. Okay, I want to talk about Renji kind of in depth, because I think Renji is one of my new favorite characters. I did not see that coming either. I totally thought when he was first introduced that he was just going to kind of be this like douchey, arrogant, really skilled Soul Reaper that just like thinks he's above everyone and is, again, just kind of a jerk. Because like that's kind of how he was presented at first. I don't know. He just seemed really, again, arrogant and just like kind of annoying, and you know, you just be annoyed anytime he comes around because it's like, oh my God, this guy. But he's revealed to be so much more deep than that it really just took me by surprise. And usually when that happens in books or manga or whatever, you know, whatever kind of story, those are the characters I usually latch onto the most, because when they break the mold of my expectations, I just really think it's something special. So I really liked Renji. I didn't know how connected he was to Rukia. I just had no idea that he knew her before and they were like really good friends and they really care about each other. I had no idea of any of that, like that any of that was coming in the story. And just how far he was willing to go to save her and help her. And he was even willing to work with Ichigo, you know? It just really endeared me to Renji a lot. I also really loved how expressive he was. I loved the anger that he displayed all the time. He's a very angry person, you know, but he's very intense. Like, I just love the intensity in his looks. and the passion in his features. In every panel, he was drawn really well. And I also love that he had a whole arc of his own, becoming stronger, fighting for what he believed in, standing up to his captain, changing his mind, changing his stance. Just, he changed so much from the beginning of the arc to the end of the arc, it seems, that he was, again, just like, he was kind of the standout of this arc to me. So I really liked Renji, and I'm excited to see him going forward. I also want to talk about Byakuya because he was interesting also. I like that, you know, kind of opposite to Renji, Byakuya was drawn pretty much expressionless most of the time. It was interesting. It obviously gave you a good sense of his character. He's very calm, cool, collected, never rattled. He's a rock. So when that facade dropped, like, for example, when he was fighting Ichigo and he showed these just flashes of like anger and frustration, it was kind of freaky, honestly, because I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't right. It was fascinating though at the same time. Apart from him, I also just loved learning about all the 13 Court Guard Company captains. Very interesting, different dynamics, so many different personalities. I can't believe like they all felt so different, so distinct. Like, yes, they had different looks, but they all like kind of acted different too, and they had different mannerisms and stuff like that. It was very impressive, honestly. There's something I hated or loved about all of them. Like, I had strong feelings towards each of the 13. So again, just very impressive that Kubo managed to do that. Props, man. So Ichigo, I have to talk about Ichigo. Of course, he's the main character. Just this brief little section on him. I don't have much to say. What I will say is that I like that he kind of took more of a backseat here and let all the new characters come forward and shine. I think that was a good choice on the mangaka's part. Otherwise, it would have felt like a lot. If we had mostly Ichigo and then he wanted to introduce all these other people, that would have been a lot. So I'm happy with how it all played out. And then just really briefly, I want to talk about the magic system. I like that we started to learn more about it kind of in this arc. We learned a little bit about Soul Reapers as a profession, if you will, in the first arc. So we kind of got a little bit of background into how they work in that arc. But I liked in this arc how we learned more about their weapons and kind of the magic that they use in combat and in healing and defense and all that kind of stuff. You know, like we saw the different forms that their sword can take. The Shenkai, is that what it's called? Shenkai and Bankai? Shikai and Bankai. That's what they're called. So that was very interesting. I also liked how those were different for every single person. So it was very creative. And I never knew how it was going to go each time, how each of the evolutions were going to go. Very cool. Also, the fact that each of like their swords, each of their zanpakutos has like a personification in a way, whether it's a person or an animal, like it's personified. I don't know a better word to use in some way. I liked it. Overall, I just really freaking like this arc. I don't know that I have too much more to say about it. I talked about a lot of my favorite moments, favorite characters. It was really good. I like that it kind of set up threats to come, characters to come. I really hope we get to see a lot of them again soon. I was very, very happy with it. It was so freaking good. The only thing I will say is that I wish there was a little more resolution in the Soul Society. Like, I wish they kind of stayed there a little bit longer so we could see how everyone was getting along afterwards and just how it was going, how they were kind of reeling from the aftermath of such a huge betrayal. But it's not like this is the complete end of the story. We still have a lot of time to come back and kind of explore this kind of stuff. So I am not overly crushed by it, but it's still like probably the only negative I have to say about this arc. So I think that's pretty good. So anyways, if you read the Soul Society or watched the Soul Society arc, I would love to know what you thought of it. I am really excited to keep going. I just need to keep going. I really want to. I love Bleach. I'm like in love with Bleach now. Anyways, that is all for me. That's all I've got. Until next time, have a really great day. Farewell.